Hi, I'm Ariel Sandler. This is my husband. He's going to be my audience. Get in there. Thank you very much. And the title of my speech is the excuse I carried for 30 years. So when I look at this picture, I see an innocent version of myself before everything changed. This was before the arguments, before my mom decided she didn't really want to be a mom anymore, before the divorce. I didn't know it yet, but the girl in this photo is going to grow up. She's going to hit 14 years old. She's going to watch her parents' marriage fall apart and then carry that moment like baggage with her until adulthood. The truth is, I didn't use the divorce as an excuse right away. Of course, I was hurt, I was confused, I was angry, but it took me a minute to figure out how to use my pain to manipulate people and situations. Once I figured it out, the excuses came easy. They just showed up quietly until eventually they were everywhere. You know how some people say, I am the way I am because of my childhood? Well, I took that phrase and I treated it like a diagnosis. I decided to let this one traumatic event from my childhood control every part of my life. As I got older, the divorce became my get out of jail free card for everything I struggled with as an adult. When I failed out of college, it was because I have no stability at home and nobody even cares if I do well anyway. When my relationships failed, it was because I had no good role model for what a healthy relationship should look like. When I started abusing drugs and alcohol, it was because I needed to numb the pain I still had from my mom walking out on us. When I got arrested, it was because I was looking for the attention I still longed for from my parents. If I messed up in school, with friends, at work, it was all because of what I went through at 14. It became comfortable and easy. I didn't even have to think about it. I messed up and the excuse just spilled out. To be honest, at 14, the divorce did hit me hard. It took everything I knew to be real and safe and it blew it up. It changed my home, my security, how I viewed relationships, how I viewed myself. I blamed my mom mostly, and that blame stayed with me. But here is what I didn't realize until decades later. I wasn't just blaming her for what happened when I was 14. I was blaming her for what happened to me when I was 24 and 34. The divorce wasn't just a moment anymore. It became my get out of jail free card. When I turned 40, something changed. Not suddenly, more like a slow truth that became louder and louder. I started to notice a pattern in the way I talked about my life. How often I circled back to the divorce, how convenient it was for me to just say, this is because of what my parents did to me. One day, I just looked at myself in the mirror and thought, I'm a grown woman. Why am I allowing something that happened to me when I was 14 control who I'm going to be in my 40s? So there was a fork in the road. One path was the familiar one, the easy way out, the one where I blamed my mistakes on the divorce and I would continue to do it. The other path would be much harder, the path where I had to finally admit that, yes, they made mistakes, but I've also made a lot of mistakes. I was surprised that when I admitted that, I didn't feel guilty. I didn't even feel sad. It actually made me feel free. I felt like a huge weight had been lifted off of me. Because if everything is my parents' fault, then I have no control over my own life. But if some of it is my fault, that means I have the power to change it. So I chose the harder path. I stopped using the divorce as my automatic excuse, and things began to change. I became more honest with myself. I started to ask myself, what can I do differently instead of who can I blame for this one? I'm now more compassionate to my parents, especially my mom, because they are human. Towards myself, because I can finally stop pretending that I am powerless. I no longer carry around that heavy baggage. I've stopped dragging that old wound into new situations. So here's the lesson I've learned. My childhood, including the divorce, shaped me, but it doesn't control me anymore. I don't give it that power anymore. For years, I used my parents' divorce as the reason my adult life was so messed up. But the truth is, the divorce wasn't the reason I was struggling so much. My excuses were. Excuses don't allow you to grow, but responsibility does. The girl in that photo didn't know that yet, but the woman speaking today definitely does.